So the FD was put on pause for a few weeks. I was not expecting that to happen. I still want to get it done by the end of the year, but I just got to make sure I work on it consistently. Something came up that I just couldn't pass upon, and I was working on for a while. And if you can't see it in the reflection of the FD, I got a Supra. And I just cannot pass up on this deal. I used to own one a few years back and 100% regret letting it go. And this thing was just too good to be true. Let me go ahead and show you. So if you've noticed the license plate, I did go pick up this vehicle in Austin, Texas and drove it back. Actually, I have a really funny story about that. But the details on the car are that it's a 95, it's a non-turbo, it's a 5-speed, and it only has 46,000 miles. The car is completely immaculate. Like it needs nothing. There's not a single dent, scratch, any lick of rust anywhere on the car. And to find one in this condition, like if this was a 6-speed example, twin turbo, you know, we're looking at a $70,000, $80,000 car. And in total transparency, I paid 40. And to some that might seem like a lot. It is a lot, but arguably, it's not a lot for this vehicle. I think it's actually really reasonable, considering that if you find a cheaper example, the cost of restoring it to this condition and sacrificing the amount of low miles this car has, you're gonna be paying about the same, if not more, right? And then there's a couple other things about this car, right? So it's in diamond white pearl, which is really rare because it only came in 1 year, and this is probably the best I can do inside of the garage, but it really pops in the sun. The second thing is it's a gold trim package. I'm just a sucker for the way things were back in the 90s, and gold trim, pearl white just screams 90s to me. And so I can't wait for the day that I'm starting to mod this and I go take, you know, things to go get powder coated in gold and, you know, match all the trim. The other thing is the fact that this is a hard top. Most Supras are slick tops, and this is not. So I don't know what the production numbers are specifically for this model with all the options it has, but it's probably really rare. And just overall, like, it's just an open canvas for me to decide what I'm going to do with it. And I say that because I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. For now, I'm just going to enjoy it the way it is. Like maybe change up the wheels, change up the exhaust, you know, upgrade the stereo, just make it a little bit more comfortable and appealing. But I feel kind of bad digging into it. So I still plan on finishing the FD. Funny thing is, I was not planning on spending the cash for this one that I did, which ate into the funds for the FD. So what I ended up doing is financing a portion of it so that way I could have liquidity to actually finish the FD. And part of the funny story with me buying this car is I flew out and my fiance came with me. And Austin is not all the way East Texas, but it's getting there. And so it's a 15-hour road trip all the way back. I was planning on making a 2-day trip out of it. And 1 hour into a 15-hour road trip, the AC goes out. So we're in the middle of the summer in Southwest America, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and it's hot as hell. It was a rough drive. I did not make it a 2-day drive. I decided to overnight it, and I spent 28 hours without any sleep, and I just drove without stopping. But it's worth it. I got it home in one piece, and I'm just happy to be in the seat of a Supra again. But the FD still needs to get finished. So the project is going to be removing the subframe because I need to actually start to disassemble, clean up, but mostly start to mock up what's going to be the Ford 8.8 differential. So that's going to be the project for today, and let's work on it. drained it. These are the brake lines, the rear brake that splits off into left and right. A little bit of a pro tip. I soaked it with WD-40 just so it could have some penetration. Always take off brake lines, old brake lines with vice grips. Get them on really tight because this is so fragile. If you just grab a 10 mil to it, chances are you're gonna strip it. Subframe is pretty much ready to come down. I'm using this 2x2 stick to kind of balance between left and right since there's not really a center section to jack it up from. And got all the bolts removed. We got the control arms are gonna stay on. I can remove them after the fact. And there's not really much else attached to it. I already showed you the brake line I removed right there. But other than that, it's just 17mm bolts, 2 in front, 2 in the back on each side, and she's ready to drop. Cool, so that's it. Diff is out, so that's the project for the day. I'll probably just tear this down a little bit more so I could get started on actually powder coating, or not powder coating, sandblasting. And while I'm here, I'm gonna do the diff bushings as well. Well, not the diff bushings, but basically all the bushings. Like, it's hard to see because of the lighting, but they're all worn out. Just, I mean, look at that. You're not supposed to have that much amount of flex. Like, this is but might as well freshen it up. It's already all here. And now that we have this open section, I can actually start to, as soon as I get my fab tools, get that Ford 8.8 in, as well as in that box is the Ronin kit, which allows you to mount everything in. It's a fabrication kit, so you have to weld it in, but super straightforward, and I'll make a separate video on that. So I got the subframe stripped down, and the mounting kit, I'll actually post up a picture of it. I'll probably flash right now, but it essentially adds a brace from side to side so it can hold the diff underneath with some mounting points. So pretty excited to get that going, but I still need to get a hold of my fabrication tools. I keep saying I will, and I still haven't. One of these days I'll pull the trigger. And since I still have a couple hours left before I have to do some things with the fiance, figured why not just tackle the front subframe. But right now what I'm gonna work on is removing the tie rods. I'm going to leave the power steering rack on the subframe and then just strip it afterwards. And so all I need to remove really is just going to be the lower control arm bolts, the strut at the bottom, and then that's honestly about it. Out. I actually forgot to video this because it's super frustrating to take the upper and lower control arms off the knuckle. And actually, thanks to my buddy Lance, he was here with me. Hey Lance. That's me. We used some MAP gas. heated up that knuckle really good on both the bottom and top. And you actually barely even need to hammer it. By the time it cools down, it just pops out. So nice little trick, but at the same time, you're gonna mess up your boots, but I'm going to redo the whole suspension, so that was fine. Subframe's out and everything else too. To me, this is peak anxiety for a car build because it's just a bare shell and I have so much work ahead of me. Not even just putting things back together, you know, cleaning them, taking them apart, rebuilding, you know, my brakes, my suspension, pressing up bushings. It's gonna be a long process and you just have to trust it, but it's gonna get done. At this stage, I don't know what my next move is because now there's a ton of little projects. It's no longer the major disassembly of the car. It's a matter of picking a certain project, sticking to it, and getting it done. I'm thinking I might redo the suspension, you know, press out the bushings, sandblast it, make it look nice and pretty, get new bushings in there. But I need a press, so I need a lot of other tools for what I'm trying to do with this car. Overall though, I think it's good progress for the weekend. Update you guys as soon as I, you know, get what I need to do or get what I need to do what I need to do. And we'll make another video then.